Hello, my name is Catherine, and for this final, I will be presenting a case study of Alejandro Aravena and his firm Elemental. In this study, I will review why Aravena is worth studying, his upbringing and background in architecture, his approach to Elemental, his large-scale relationship to the modern canon, and the references I researched for this presentation. All right, so why Alejandro Aravena? So before diving into his background, I will first introduce why Aravena is worth his accolades achievements in this case study. His work and design process behind Elemental has a fixation upon public interest and social impact. Behind every project, Aravena takes the needs of the clients and channels them into the needs and wants of the user. His ability to conceptualize the building aspirations from user's perspective without the initial knowledge of a form is backwards from traditional design practices and is fascinating to witness the relationship to the final product. In addition, Aravena's personal relationship with today's culture of architecture as practice and as institution is both strenuous and rewarding. He, he disregards the right way or conventional processes inherently contributing to mainstream architectural greatness. His rebellious attitude towards the built environment invigorates his work, thereby pushing his projects to become the outlier and magnet of the cultural site. With that being said, we shall now explore his upbringing and background. Aravena was born June 22nd, 1967 in Santiago, Chile, under the totalitarian regime of Augusto Pinochet. The regime isolated him from information, so he had no access to the architectural media activities at this time. But according to him, he thanks this isolation for sparing us from being brainwashed by that last important movement, of which he refers to postmodernism. With the lack of magazines and weekly articles, his architectural role models were native to him. Using books, not magazines, as our sources, and coming up under a regime where information was controlled, we look to Alvaro Siza and not Michael Graves or Peter Einzelman. Curiously, that may be the only good thing about a totalitarian regime that reigned in Chile. This focused on Aravena to evaluate and build his and value his built environment instead of fawning over developed countries, knowing that there's always a great risk of looking at what's happening elsewhere and think it's inevitably better than what belongs to one's own culture. We had to analyze what lays close at hand, which proved to be an advantage. In 1992, he graduated from the Pontifical Catholic University of Chile with a degree in architecture, and he established his own practice 2 years later. Despite his anti-postmodernism rebellious nature, he had an institutional career outside of Chile. Between 2000 and 2005, he was a professor at Harvard DSD, and he has also taught and lectured at many other prestigious institutions. Next, I will discuss Aravena's architectural motivations and three of his most prominent works. While rooted in his dedication into regional architecture, Aravena identifies his rebellious energy as a genetic factor. He describes this feeling like the natural want to oppose regardless of the moment. Perhaps this need to rebel is what pushes his design to believe in alternative and better solutions to the ones existing, so much as the states for popular culture and architecture, and as a result of his upbringing and values of local culture, this reflex to challenge is justifiably natural, indeed a genetic factor. He encourages this rebellious nature in juxtaposition to embracing freedom. This first project is the Innovation Center, located in Santiago, Chile, at the Universidad Católica de Chile San Joaquin campus. Angelini Group donated funds to create a center where business can collaborate and interact with researchers. His goal is to nurture an environment where business and innovation meet, value resources and patents, and contribute to development and competitiveness. Visual connections are a constant anticipating opportunities for these two programs to collide. This is mainly executed through transparent core, transforming the center into a hive of synergies. The rebellion came through the rejection of the glass facade. As part of his genetic factor, he despised the trendiness of the solid core and glass facades in Santiago. Not only was the style and use temporary, this glass did not make sense with the harsh Chile weather. Out of rebellion, Aravena inverted the trend with a solid envelope and transparent core, while creating energy-efficient building without excess heat gain. In this case, the genetic factor was the solution to a thermal and typology problem. The next two projects are part of his ABCs of incremental housing concept. Here, he focuses on incrementality of his ABC. He focuses on incrementality to focus the issue of scarcity in a poverty-stricken housing market. There must be a balance of low rise, high density, no overcrowding, and expansion possibilities. Aravena proposed a total of 4 designs that all pursue these ABCs, and this presentation will explore 2 of them. First, it's a Villa Verde project located in a forestry region of Chile. A forestry company decided to create a permanent residence for its workers. With an abundant amount of resources, this is a perfect opportunity for Aravena to test and experiment on projects stemming from the ABCs. Each residence came in a kit of parts, so the assembly construction was easily done by the residents themselves, and they were invited to add extensions to their homes. Each unit is adequately equipped with space for customization exterior living space. The program of the development naturally caters towards a working class community being located directly on the job site. Yet Aravena affords exterior space not just for communal purposes, but also for individuals. He does not condense nor prioritize economic efficiencies, knowing that the investment of a proper living is worth more than the short-lived development. The second project is the Quinta Monroy housing in Iquique, Chile. It is a housing development that replaced 93 existing units. For each unit, Aravena did not want to increase the square footage due to affordability. So he adapted a similar approach as the Villa Verde. In fact, this project actually came before it, but this one was less successful than the Villa Verde. He installed half of a permanent residence, leaving the remaining half to be filled by the resident. This strategy proved to be both cost efficient and ideal for residents. However, the only issue being that the residents will have to sacrifice natural lighting for home extensions. Privacy was compromised to afford potential space, which led to crowding within the permanent installation. Otherwise, it was a success. So after discussing these 3 projects, how do they represent Aravena within a modern architectural canon? Similar to any other architect study, Le Corbusier, Aravena worked to pave his own path with an industry heavily saturated with elitism and formalism. The elitist perspective comes from his anti-postmodernism view since his upbringing, and the formalist perspective comes from the passed down rules of modernism. Yet, in his sense of rebellion, that fixed sense of familiarity in his project. As a Pritzker Prize recipient and probably architect, his goals align with the social impact rather than designing a visible building, but with his genetic factors only natural for his intentions to carve its own type amongst an environment of popularity and cliche. Thank you, and here are my references.